on my own personal basis. And it might not sound right, okay? But hopefully by the end of the night you can understand my my heart and where I'm coming from. But maybe 2 weeks ago, I think, I was in the car with my wife and we was going around and whatnot, doing whatever stuff we were doing, shopping, I think. And on our way home, we were listening to worship music and whatnot. And I don't know what song is playing at the time, but I know it's talking about God, obviously. And how great God is, and His love for us, and forgiveness of sins, and all this stuff, you know. So I'm having a blast for myself. Like I don't usually go crazy, yeah, but I go crazy in my own brain. So I'm just sitting there like, yeah. And like I'm telling God, oh, that's so awesome, man. Like you forgive my sins as far as the east is from the west. Like I suck, and I'm always gonna suck, but no matter what, you always will forgive me. I mean, I went through this whole thing with Him, and like this is the harsh part, yeah, but I gotta share my honesty, or be honest. And as I'm doing that, God cuts me deep. And whenever I've learned for myself, when God talks to me, He talks to me real bluntly. Because if He doesn't talk to me bluntly, I don't listen. Like if it's real soft and gentle and saying nice, I tend to go, oh, that's nice, Lord, and then I forget about it. But when it's something that I got in here, I've noticed that He just stabs me with something, yeah. And like I said, this is something crazy I'm gonna say, so please don't get offended by it, but just hear my heart. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, God, you're awesome, you forgive sins. He's, yes, I forgive sins, as far as the east from the west. And no matter what you do, you ask for forgiveness, and I'll throw it away. I won't remember it. You can come to me, and I won't remember it because that's what I've done for you, and I love you. But, and it's where God stabs me. And this might be the wrong word, but it's the words He told me. But I do not forgive disobedience. Rough words, you know, super rough words. I do not forgive disobedience. And I stood there, or sat there, like in shock. Like, oh Lord, that's kind of crazy, you know? And so that's why I struggled with this message up into Thursday. And my heart was, Lord, that sounds a little bit too crazy. Like, I don't even know if that's biblical. That's what I'm telling him, you know. I feel like I've learned this, and I feel like I've heard this before, but Lord, I don't know. Like, let me go talk to Pastor and figure this out and whatnot. And every time I go talk to Pastor, I forget. And like my heart is struggling with this. And I'll explain this. So I'm struggling with this concept. I'm searching and I'm praying and I say, you know what, God, this is too crazy. Like this is not it. This is not what you're saying. Give me something else. Give me something else to talk about because this is going to get me in trouble. This is going to offend somebody, and I can't do this. And then I kept trying to justify this. And then the pastor's message, when I listened to him on Wednesday, he says, oh, just God speaks to you sometimes just through one word. So I'm praying, Lord, give me one word. Just one word. He can speak to me that way. And He gives me nothing. And I'm seriously, guys. Like I'm freaking out. I'm busted. Like I'm dead. I have nothing to talk about. This doesn't seem right. And my wife comes home. I think it's Thursday night. Yeah. And like I said, I'm just. Like, my brain can't think, like, I'm just like, oh man, I have, like, not even 2 days to bring anything, I have nothing, and, yeah. I still don't have anything. But, she said, there's this song that I shared with Kihal that I want to see if we could bring to the worship team. But I feel like God told me to show you this song, which is interesting, me and my wife don't talk God. Mostly because of me. I'm so like with stuff, yeah, she's not. And sometimes when I talk to her, it can be like, oh, this is what I thought. No, that's not correct. But so we don't really talk about God stuff too much or discuss our opinions a lot. Like I said, mostly because of me. But so she showed me the song, and I know that her heart was probably mostly because the song was cool and. She enjoyed the song, and she wanted me to listen to it, to the song, but I kept pausing it. Like, I don't even know how much time to do the song. I kept pausing the song, and song was played earlier, you guys probably heard it before, was about a resurrection power. And I listened to the song and the words that he's saying, all this stuff is happening, and I'm like, you know what, God, like, maybe, you're right. I need to speak on this topic. And I'm praying that you reveal to me better words. Because that's not good words. But I felt more comfortable, I guess, with what I felt like God put on my heart. And that song just played over and over in my brain. And sometimes the way my brain works is, like, just because it says something doesn't mean that's all I get. Like, that thing opens up so much other stuff in my brain, and it gets flooded out with all kind of things. And that's why I think in the message, because my brain overfloods with so much stuff, and I can't pinpoint where I'm supposed to be at. But anyway, the song is called The Resurrection Power, and I thought it was amazing that we just had our Easter service. And I didn't realize till yesterday that today was communion, yeah? And I just feel like God's stretching the concept of the resurrection. And that's supposed to be stretched every single day, right? It's not supposed to be just once a year, like, woohoo, resurrection day, and God is good, and all this stuff. It's supposed to be every single day that we look at that. But, so, like I said, I have nothing. I have a bunch of thoughts, a bunch of stuff that God's been tugging at my heart. And I promise to Jesus that I tried super hard to put things together. But I don't have everything together. So there's something I want to share with you guys. And I want to share, because I'm being honest with you guys. So I want to start sharing with you guys the things that what He's told me about this obedient stuff, yeah? So the first one I want to look at is, the title of my message is called Unchained. So one of the scriptures is Matthew 25, 14 through 30. I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to talk about it. So I'm going to go to it just in case I say the wrong word. But is anybody there yet? Anybody know the title of what that part is? Not yet? No. So that's what he's talking about, the three servants. You all know the story about the three servants? So in this chapter itself opened up a whole thing for me a while back. That I'm going to share a little bit about today. The first part of the chapter talks about the 10 bridesmaids. Okay? In general, 5 were prepared for the bridegroom, and 5 weren't. And Jesus is talking about how the kingdom of heaven is just like this, right? And then he goes into the parable of the 3 servants, this scripture I want to talk about today. I'm just going to read it. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, divided it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account on how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more bags and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I earned 2 more. The master said, Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant, and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. Then he ordered, take the money from the servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. Those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they will have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That story has a lot of implications that we take. We can break that into like a few messages from that thing, But that's not what I want to talk about today. God stirred my heart with this whole chapter before. And it talks about, I'm not going to read it, you can read it. It's Matthew 25:31 to the end of that chapter. But there's a part of this chapter where God says, after he talks about the servants, he says, but when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, they will sit upon his glorious throne. He talks about the final judgment. And he's talking about the separation from the sheep from the goats, right? And my opinion is, when I was younger, I believed that was just basically talking about the separation from believers and non-believers. But when I read it, what stirred my heart a while back was, there's one word that starts off with verse 31, and that word says, but. Whenever you start off a conversation, you don't ever say but, right? But is referring to what happened prior, right? So when I read that, I was saying, hey Lord, what are you telling me? And so I went back prior to what he's talking about, right? So he's talking about the 10 bridesmaids, and the 3 servants. And going through there, I came to the conclusion that he's not talking about the separation from the goat and the sheep as in the sense of separation from believer and non-believer. I believe that he's talking about the separation of a faithful believer versus an unfaithful believer. Why I say that besides the word but is because the 3 servants had the same master. They were given the same task. They weren't different from each other. The way a non-believer and a believer are different. The 10 bridesmaids were given the same task. 5 failed and 5 didn't. They all had the same goal, was to get picked up by the bridegroom to go to the party. So when I read that before, and God put on my heart, that's what he meant. That there will be a separation from believer, faithful believer, and unfaithful believer. So that's what I got with that thing. So when I was doing this, he says another reason why I believe he's talking about the faithful believer versus the unfaithful believer, right? Or maybe if you want to say the obedient believer versus the disobedient believer, for the sake that one servant was disobedient, unfaithful, 5 of them was 5 of the bridesmaids were disobedient and unfaithful. And he says that he goes to the sheep when he moves them, and says, and we all heard this before, I'll just read this. Then the king will say to those on his right, which is talking about the sheep, right? Come you who are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me. Then these righteous ones will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will say, I tell you the truth, when you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me. You all heard it before, right? And the reason why, this next verse is the reason why I believe he's talking about believer and believer. He says to, then the king will turn to those on the left side and say, which is the goat, right? The goats. Away with you, you cursed ones, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his demons. was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me. Then they will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and not help you? And he will answer, I tell you the truth, when you refuse to help the least of my brothers and sisters, you are refusing to help me, and they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. I'm not preaching about going to hell. That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about, if you're unfaithful in your walk, you will be punished and God will send you to hell. That's not what I'm saying today. You can read it for yourself and find out what you want to find out for that. But what I'm talking about is something totally different that I believe can possibly result in those things. And that's where we're at today. Let's see. God stirred my heart with something, with the song that made it clearer for me to be able to talk about this today. And that was the song Resurrection Power. Freedom, you have given us freedom. You have given us freedom. My chains are gone. Freedom, you have given us freedom. You have given us freedom. Hallelujah. Sorry, I'm repetitive, right? I'm just going to move for it. Now I have resurrection power living on the inside, Jesus. You have given us freedom. No longer bound by sin and darkness, living in the light of your goodness. You have given us freedom. And he says it over, right? I have resurrection power living inside me, no longer bound by darkness. You have given us freedom. Anybody, I don't know, excites you, that excites me. Yeah? So, I'm sorry if I'm not making sense. There's something I believe that God was trying to say to me, for me to understand, and that's why he said it so harshly to me. And that was, there's more to freedom. There's more to just being forgiven. There's more to than being set free from the bondage of sin and death. So if we can look at, a couple of scriptures. The one that I want to talk about right now is John 21, 1 through 17. And hopefully this brings together what I'm trying to say tonight. Right? Later, Jesus appeared again. Well, this is after he's resurrected, right? Later, Jesus appeared again to the disciples beside the Sea of Galilee. This is how it happened. Several disciples were there. Simon Peter, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples. Simon Peter said, I am going fishing. We'll come too, they all said. So they went out into the boat, but they caught nothing. At dawn, Jesus was standing on the beach, but the disciples couldn't see who he was. He called out, fellows, have you caught any fish? No, they replied. Then he said, throw out your net on the right-hand side of the boat, and you'll get some. So they did, and they couldn't haul in the net because there were so many fish in it. First off, that's an exact repetitive of what happened when Jesus called Peter. Right? When he called Peter to the ministry, he was fishing. Right? And what I'm trying to get at before I start is Peter was super enthusiastic, right? He was full of zeal for the Lord. And sometimes he reminds me of me. Which is one good thing I guess sometimes, yeah. But that's what it reminds me of, right? Especially the part where the guy goes and grabs Jesus and he cuts his ear off. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, What is wrong? But there's something that Peter does, right? When Jesus is having his, not communion, but the Last Supper with them, he basically tells Peter that you're going to deny me 3 times, right? Everybody remember that, right? And Peter says, no, I will not. I'm not going to deny you, Lord. I'm the biggest other guy over here. I follow you from the beginning, and I'm not going to deny you. You know you will, and when you do, the rooster's going to crow or whatnot. So anyways, they capture Jesus, right? They take him, and while they're dragging him, so I got to play the book and throw the movie out my head. Okay. When they're taking Jesus right now, right? They start yelling, right? Oh, that's Peter. He's the guy that knows Jesus. He's one of the disciples, right? He said, no, I'm not. Right, number 1. Right, you keep going down even further. The same thing happened. Hey, that's the guy. Aren't you one of those Jesus guys? You're one of his followers. No, I'm not. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's number 2. It happens again, right? And he says, you're one of the guys. You're Peter. You're the guy who followed Jesus all over the place. And he says, no, I am not. That's not me. And what happens? The rooster crows. And I'm pretty sure that no one else heard the rooster but Peter. That's what the thing. That rooster was so loud that it was almost inaudible. That's how I picture it. And more so because it struck me with the realization that Jesus said he was going to deny me. Right? Does Peter stand there and continue watching, continue to follow Jesus down the path to get crucified? If I'm not mistaken, he runs away, right? He's basically done. If I was Peter and I just realized that Jesus was right and I was going to deny him, I would have run away too. I wouldn't want to see my face, having seen my face, I wouldn't want to see his face. I would be ashamed among him and my fellow brothers. So, Peter goes back exactly to what he was doing. And that's fishing, right? And then he carries a bunch of guys with him. And they're fishing. And Jesus shows up, right? Telling him to throw the net on the other side of the boat. You'll get fish. Sorry. Then the disciple Jesus loved said to Peter, it's the Lord. When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his tunic, for he had stripped for work, jumped into the water, and headed to shore. First of all, that guy had to be pretty crazy, right? You're on a boat, fishing, and there's Jesus, and he's so excited that Jesus is there. He doesn't even try to just get in the boat, he tries to swim his way over there. And I like to think that he beat them there anyway. The others stayed on the boat and pulled the loaded net to the shore, for they were only about 100 yards from shore. When they got there, they found breakfast waiting for them, fish cooking over a charcoal fire and some bread. Bring some of the fish you just caught, Jesus said. So Simon Peter went aboard and dragged the net to the shore. There were 153 large fish, and yet the net had it torn. Now come and have some breakfast, Jesus said. None of the disciples dared to ask, who are you? They knew it was the Lord. Then Jesus served them the bread and the fish. This was the 3rd time Jesus had appeared to his disciples since he had been raised from the dead. At breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? And then this basically means he's asking me, do you love me more than the others do, right? And what does he say? Yes, Lord. Peter replied, you know I love you. And Jesus tells him something. Then feed my lambs, Jesus told him. Jesus repeated the question. Simon Peter of John, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, Peter said. You know I love you. Then take care of my sheep. Jesus said, and the 3rd time he asked him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question a 3rd time. He said, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. That if there's any way to forgive somebody without saying I forgive you, that was the way. Yeah. He said that you can deny me 3 times, Peter. No, I will not. And he does. Broken, runs away, and Jesus says, do you love me? 3 times he asks him the same question. He gives him the same reply, and Jesus gives him the same reply as well. What does he tell him to do? To feed my sheep, to tend to my sheep. There's more to being unchained. Yeah. Sometimes we can sit and be just happy that we've been set free. That we think that we're doing the life, living the life that God called us to live, right? We come to church, we read our Bible, we do all these things that make us a Christian, right? And but there's more. When I was reading this, there's more stories, right? I'm gonna just name them that talks about these things. Paul, who was free from prison, if I'm not mistaken, when I was reading, he's free twice from prison. Acts 16 through 40. So I might get them mixed up, right? Let me see. I'm gonna have to read it, so I'm not giving you guys the wrong thing. I already stay up here worried about being a false prophet. I don't like repeat, Pastor. At the time, so let me just read it. Sorry, let's go to Acts 16 through 40. I'm hoping that at least one person here is slowly getting what I'm trying to say. Okay, so Paul and Silas in prison. One day as we were going down to the place of prayer, we met a slave girl who had a spirit that enabled her to tell the future. She earned a lot of money for her masters by telling fortunes. She followed Paul and the rest of us, shouting, "These men are the servants of the Most High, and they have come to tell you how to be saved." This went on day after day until Paul got so exasperated that he turned and said to the demon within her, "I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to come out of her." And instantly they left her. The masters were basically angry, right? They were making money off this girl. They should have seen the future. He was paying for it. And Paul killed that whole money revenue. So he gets Paul them arrested. Paul and Silas get arrested, right? They beat up. They said they were severely beaten, and then they were thrown into prison. The jailer was ordered to make sure they didn't escape. So the jailer put them into the inner dungeon and clamped their feet in the stocks. Around midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening. Suddenly, there was a massive earthquake, and the prison was shaken to its foundations, and the doors immediately flew open, and the chains of every prisoner fell off. Yeah, chains, right? There's something that we need to continue to do or work on doing after the chains have been removed, right? And I think Paul and Silas do a really good example of that. The jailer woke up to see the prison doors wide open. He assumed the prisoners had escaped, so he drew his sword to kill himself. But Paul shouted to him, "Stop, don't kill yourself, we're all here." The jailer called for the lights and ran to the dungeon and fell trembling before Paul and Silas. Then he brought them out and asked, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" There's more to that. Yeah, I'm not going to read it. But they did exactly what I believe believers are supposed to do when we've been set free. Yeah, they didn't run away, I'm free, and be happy with that. They stayed back in jail, in prison, right? And they continued to preach, if that's what you want to say, right? They bring a man to be saved by staying there, by living the way God would call them to live. Because they knew that if they walked out of that prison, would that have been godly? No. Right? It's like going to the store. I'm pretty sure everybody has this experience, right? You go to the store, you buy something, they didn't ring it up, right? I've learned for a long time that I give it back. I don't even care if it's a little dumb, it goes back. But I know somebody else who was like, "That's a blessing, keep it." I know that's not a blessing, give it back. They could have ran away. They could have been like, "This is a blessing, God set us free." But I believe they knew that wasn't correct. That they had to follow authority. Jesus teaching them all these things. They stayed back and did what God calls them to do as believers and save, bring the man that God can save. Right? Sorry guys. We continue on. If we look at another part, Acts 4, 1 through 31, which is funny. I never realized, that there's multiple times where they got in prison like after each other. I don't know, they're used to that already. Acts 4:1-31. And I'm just gonna talk about this part just really quick. Peter and John, right? They're preaching. They're speaking about Jesus and the resurrection and what he's gonna do and all this stuff, right? And the Pharisees and whatnot get mad and whatnot. They throw him to jail, right? They tell them stop speaking about this stuff. They continue speaking about it, send him to jail. And let me find that part as well. Make sure. I can't see right now. I'm going to try to rush through it. But they go to jail, right? They preach these things. They say, stop doing this. You guys can't be doing this. They send them to jail. And what do they do when they get out of jail? Anybody? Did they stop preaching? They go right back to preaching. Yeah. Chains off, free from jail. Not, oh, we're free, man. That was close. Right back to preaching. Right back to living the life the way God called it, the way God intends us to live a life. And there's a bunch of, so the concept that I'm saying is that when we're free, when the chains have been dropped, we gotta live a life. We gotta continue to live a life that God called us to live. You know, this made me feel better with the song, this was playing my brain, than saying the words, I forgive sin, but I do not forgive disobedience. Disobedience is also just like sin frowned upon. Yeah. Just as a parent, when your child is disobedient, and believe me, you have disobedient children, it's frowned upon, and God doesn't like it. And there's also, if you don't realize this, just like sin, there's consequences for disobedience. The first person to feel those consequences was Adam, right? Adam and Eve, disobedient, and it brought about all this problems or whatnot. There's always a consequence when you're disobedient. So when I was doing this, and I kept searching, trying to find things that God could help me with. And if you want to turn to Matthew 7:21, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is, I want you guys to do as homework. So I'm just going to read it. Not everyone who calls out to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do the will of my Father in heaven will enter. I'm not going to read anymore. I want you to read. Yeah. I want you to read it. I want you to share your mini church. What that says to you. What's that talking about to you. What are we supposed to? What is it? What are we supposed to do after our chains we've been set free, our chains been dropped? We're supposed to live a life according to God, right? And not necessarily now a sin-free life. Because is a sin-free life possible here? No. It's not possible, yeah? Until God takes you all away and does other things. But right now, today, a sin-free life is impossible. What God wants, right, is for you to also do the will of God. What His will is, right? So, sitting, screaming, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, right? I don't know if it's a song and stuff or whatnot. It always pops in my head and not saying anything about the song. It's, oh, I'm free at last, right? Free, free, free. Instead of just singing, saying, running around being happy that we're free, why don't we do something with it? When someone goes to jail, and they've done all the things to be right to get out of jail, or they just did their time, they finally get out of jail. Do most of them return or stay away? If I'm not mistaken, a lot of people return. Why? Because they can't change, right? They can't make changes in their life and do other things. They're so accustomed, so used to being a certain way that they go back. And that's what we can do sometimes, right? Sometimes we, forgive my words, be so stuck on, let's see where we're here. Be so stuck on being happy that we've been set free, that we're excited to be free, and we're so focused on living a sin-free life, which isn't wrong, right? Because we gotta try to live a sin-free life, but we're so focused on those things that we forget to live free. Yeah, and to live free is to follow the will of God. There's a meaning in freedom that I took. There's more meanings now, but there's this meaning that I really like. And it says, freedom is the power or the right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. And what I drew was handcuffs. Yeah. When you save and your heart is for God, all you want to do is the will of God. If you're not doing the will of God and you don't know why, maybe, just maybe, you're still bound by something in your own brain. But it says, right here it says, I'm going to change words around, right? Freedom, the power or the right to act, speak, or think, just as one wants. I'm not sure what it is. Without hindrance or restraint. That means that I can walk around, talk about God, think about God, preach about God, do God-like things in the life I live without restraint. Yeah, we've been set free from sin. There's no restraint upon you. So if you're sitting there and I can't do this because I'm still sinning, right? I can't preach, I can't teach, I can't serve, I can't do anything. Some people are like, I can't even go to church until my life is straightened out. You've been set free. Yeah? You've been set free. There's no handcuffs, there's no restraints, there's nothing hindering you from doing what God called you to do, from serving God at your full capacity. My challenge to you guys today is to serve God at your full capacity. Yeah? So, more than just reading. Yeah, I'm not saying don't read. Don't take my words and twist it. I'm not saying don't read. I'm not saying don't pray, but more. There's more to this stuff. When they were stuck in prison and got out, they went back and did the things they're supposed to be doing. They were living lives that was led by Jesus, that was led by God. That's all that mattered. Nothing else mattered. And can you imagine that? Nothing else matters. You don't have to, you don't want to. Nothing else matters. Raise your hand. Or only God. Right? Brother Gerald, he's working, yeah, trying to build his walk. And he excited me last week. We had a performance and he came and Gerald, he shares once in a while, a little bit, not too deep, the surface, yeah, he just laughs. And once in a while he'll get in there and he'll share something pretty deep. And he's sharing that day and at Main Church about how he wants to put God first. How he wants to live a life that, goodness gracious, that puts God first, right? So he's sharing, is anyone share about his job stuff? So he's sharing about his job and how they're hindering his stuff, restraining him from coming to church in a sense, and doing all these other things. I'm pretty sure he himself is doing it, right? We all trying to do that. But he's excited that he said, they said, oh, we need you to work Saturday. And he said, no, I can't work Saturday. I've been practicing for this almost a month or so with these men who are doing solid for church. I'm not doing it. And he said, I'm pretty sure he said these words, unless my brain took his words and said, oh, bruh. And he said that he never cared. You know what I mean? That he like serve God, and he like show up for God and do that stuff. That's the heart, right? That he like show up for God. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm going with this. A life lived that way, where nothing else matters but pleasing the Lord. Nothing else matters but helping another brother or sister. Yeah, and once again, it's not about works either. Yeah, it's about living a life that looks like Jesus. Nothing else matters but Jesus' God's agenda, His will, His heart, His love is that's on our stuff, right? I don't know the scripture, right? But He says that first the two greatest commandments, right? Love me more than anything, and love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. That's the heart, right? Imagine a life where that's all that matters to you. Nothing else matters. I just had my brain, but my phone just said it. Someone say it, even though I don't want to say it. Playing Destiny doesn't matter. Kanani so ears on sharing Kanani and I'm in church. Oh, I want to do this with my stuff and I do better. And she looks at my cousin and said, oh, no Destiny. I was like, I was always high for something like that. But no hindrance in your life. Right? Just, if your only focus is God, right? That should be our focus, right? If our only focus is God and understanding that, you know what? I don't like to say this, but I'm going to say this. This is how I feel about my own life inside. If the career I want isn't happening because I have to put God first, then oh well. If my job doesn't, my job wants me to work on the days that I put God into my schedule, then I'm not going to have a job. You know what I mean? I've learned for myself that God is more important than all these other things. All that other stuff is going to be gone. God will not be. And I will not be. So, if we live a life that way, you imagine that God, remember this now, God says, the way you live your life for me is now free from restraint. You know what I mean? There's nothing holding you back. There's nothing hindering you. If there is anything stopping you, it's yourself and what you're doing. But there's nothing holding you back, yeah? And when I was doing this, I oh man, I got excited, yeah? And the visual might not be a good visual, this is a vicious visual, but what's like when Pitbull on Unchained, yeah? And he's barking, right? His goal is, there's a cat over here, not to be over here, and he's trying to get out of his chain, right? Trying to get the cat. Bad example. But he's restrained by something that takes him away from his goal at the time, right? Let's just say it's change cat, that burglar. Right? Take the chain off, what happens? Does he sit down? He doesn't sit. He does his job, right? He goes and he defends, he protects, he does what he's supposed to do. I'm excited because we can understand that concept and mesh that concept into the fact that we're supposed to live a life that's based for only God. Man, God can do great things through us. Yeah? But when we sit in just, hallelujah, I'm free. That's what the dog is saying. My dog doesn't do that. My dog, if you open the gate, or you can't even get to the gate, he's already going crazy. He has a, sorry this sounds cruel to you, you just don't know my dog. He has a cage that I have to put a chain on him as well, because if I don't put a chain on him, he'll break through the cage and he'll run you over. My dog, if you go swimming with my dog, you'll end up with scratches all over your body. Okay? So, if I let my dog loose, right, he's not going to sit still. I don't know if they have a dog, maybe I might have an old dog that sits still, but not, my dog will not sit still. My dog will run you over and he'll run laps all over the place. You can't stop him. You can't, trust me, I pick my dog up, hold him down, body slam him, and he fights me back. He's like me, I think. But you cannot. I encourage you to live a life like that dog, where nothing is going to hold you back. Not even yourself. That you focus all that time and energy on not just being free, but understanding you free and that you have a job to do and it needs to get done. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm not saying that you're going to go to hell, you're going to do this job. You read that stuff for yourself, figure out your own thing. What I'm saying is, I'm pretty sure he's so much more happier instead of you sitting down in your freedom and using your freedom. You know? With that being said, I just want to call the worship team up, and we're going to do some worship. I want to go through that song. I'm just going to sit up here. What do you guys sing? I want to go through that song for communion. And it might not pay in your brain. It doesn't matter if it's in your brain. It pays in my brain and my heart, which I try to share with you guys today. When I hear the song, it keeps saying that I've been set free. The chains are off. Yeah. It has the words like I'm free. Well, I'm changing songs over here. Like I'm free to dance. I'm free to sing. That's not even the right stuff, but that's freedom. That's still saying what I'm supposed to say. Right? But I want you guys to sit there and remember that, like Pastor said last week, and the song says it, that He calls you by name. Yeah. He says, I'm gonna say his name. He's not even here. He says, Jason. Larry. Larry came running. I don't know about Jason. Just joking. He calls us by name. From the grave, He calls us by name. He died for our sins. He's died for our freedom to set us free. And this song, if you take it the way my brain takes it, is amazing. So much stuff. I want you guys to listen to the song, and I want them to repeat it over and over for a bit, however they do it. But think about not just freedom, like I said, but what you can do now with your freedom. Right? Like I let people in jail. What you can do now that you're free. You can sit there and do nothing, go back to regular, or you can do all the things you're supposed to do correct to make sure that you not only stay out, but you live out, right? You don't only stay free, but you live free. So if we just stand up for